I don't broadcast it, just that I've had 10 children.
She might not broadcast it, but two Metro families are so grateful that she followed through with it. Infertility has the potential to end the dream of motherhood, but Jenn Waters refused to let that happen. Erin Kiernan shows us how she stepped in repeatedly to help Metro couples grow their families.
Did you grow up always wanting to be a mom?
I did. I always wanted to be a mom, but I didn't always have that natural mothering instinct. I'm not a fan of the baby stage.
Jenn Waters got the baby stage ×2 when her twins Jackson and Joel were born in 2008.
I always had easy pregnancies.
And again when Julianne and Jocelyn came along in 2011.
We were blessed twice with two sets of twins, and how amazing if I could help, another family. And so I had blogged my whole feelings on this, and a friend of a friend was reading our blog and had reached out to me.
So when you first brought this up with your husband, how did that go?
The very first, I remember distinctly, I was sitting and feeding one of our girls, and I looked at my phone and I told my husband, I'm like, I just got this message from my friend's friend who wants me to be a surrogate. And he's like, well, what's that? And so we started talking about it more, and I had textbook pregnancies. How awesome would it be if I could do this for someone else? And he's like, okay. And that was that.
The friend of a friend and her husband lived about 30 minutes away. The two couples set up a time to meet.
My husband and I went over and knocked on their door, and I knew him. He went to the same high school.
What?
Yes,
Oh
yes.
God.
So such a small world.
So explain to people then throughout your pregnancy and leading up to delivery, sort of what kind of relationship existed between you and them, or was there one?
There was. So we got to know each other before we started anything. We got to know each other pretty well.
Megan and Mike went to doctor's appointments with Jenn. They had maternity pictures taken together, and they were all in the room when it came time for the babies to be born.
My OBGYN, he was great, and he didn't care how many people were in the room. And I didn't. It's a party. Come on in.
For the third time in her life, Jenn had carried and delivered twins. It wouldn't be the last.
I was in for my postpartum check, and my doctor said that he had a couple that might be interested in my services. Well, I had only planned on doing this one time.
That was in January.
Heidi and Spencer came out to the house in February, and we just hit it off.
A few months later, Jenn was pregnant with twins again. So since you already had been through this and have your own children, can you describe how it was different? Because I think about, those moments of birthing your children and that feeling of, at least for me, I was so overwhelmed with emotion. So then what was it like doing this for someone else?
It's still emotional. Just going back to the room and not having anything, it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, time to move on.
When she was moving on after being a surrogate for the second time, Jenn heard from the first family she'd helped.
We'd like you to carry for us again. We have a couple more embryos left.
And she agreed.
I don't broadcast it, just that I've had 10 children or five sets of twins.
Things didn't always go as planned. One of the couples had embryos that didn't make it to transfer.
You're at such a high, and then you find out something like that happens, and it immediately takes you, back down.
It's a roller coaster.
Yeah, for sure. It really opened my mind because small town, you don't know or hear of a lot of people that experience infertility, and then to experience that with them. And that was just a small snippet of what they went through too. So they're just, so strong.
Describe the emotions in terms of being the person who fulfills this dream for people.
Yeah, even now, it's just so, it's hard to think that I was that person. But I think that, seeing the families together now, and then I helped do that.
Yeah. You change people's lives.
Right. Yeah.
What sorts of things surprised you about the experience and doing this for people?
You do go through that psychological part of prepping, and that's part of the checkbox that you have to check. I thought that was going to be okay, but when I left and I was going home, I was like, oh my gosh, like I just had 2 babies, and I knew that we would always be in contact and always have that bond. And but I kind of just thought, oh, everybody will get busy with their lives, but we've always still, stayed in contact. That's probably one thing that's surprising too, is when I do see them, kind of that, oh, like, you're here because, I was a part of your mom and dad's life.
How do you, or do you, talk about this or explain it to your kids?
They're very resilient, and they're very, just kind of go with the flow, and they adapt and they change, and they're like, you didn't bring the babies home? Okay.
Right.
Can we go get ice cream? Are you going to take us to soccer practice now?
What do you want people to know about it?
I think that people think that you are a surrogate for, oh gosh, you had to make a ton of money. I'm sorry, I was pregnant and carrying twins for 38 weeks, and it's not about that. I could help someone else and these other families complete their family, complete their dreams. Just seemed like what I was here for.
Of course, that was our Erin Kiernan reporting, and you can find her entire series on the infertility struggle by going to WHO13.com. We've been so blessed by Erin's reports, and to get to know these families, these people. It's too bad the Remarkable Women nominations are closed, because Jenn Waters is a remarkable woman.
And then she says, well, I was carrying for 36, 37 weeks. 5 times in a row with twins. That is amazing.
Bravo.
Golly.